Go find somebody that you want to build something relentlessly with, and don't forget to celebrate along the way. And do it for 5 years, and just shut up and do it for 5 years. And then you'll probably have a story worth talking about. And then a pivot will come and a change will be made, but you'll have something that you can look back on that you've got to enjoy and you've got to build. And that seems to me like a life well lived.
Who's this? Oh, you're an entrepreneur? Oh, you're a real estate investor. Oh, you're trying to learn from those who did it. Well, come into the lab then. Put your white coat on, gloves on, notepad, and let's build, y'all.
If you're looking for an episode packed with emotional intelligence, entrepreneurship, and living the dream and still aspiring for more, you are going to want to be tapped in to this one. This was a gem-full packed. I had a pleasure of reconnecting with these individuals, which I believe in this day and age, it's like less than 3 degrees of separation. Now it's getting to 1, with so many mutual connections and worlds. But I always love connecting with individuals that have a mindset of growth, have a mindset of reflection, have a mindset of being very intentional in what they do, and as well as being able to document the process while they're doing it, surrounding themselves with, again, people who are 10 steps ahead of them, being able to do the same for others who might be 10 steps behind you because you understand the value that that can have, being in the right rooms. And sometimes perhaps it means bringing the right room to your living room by having a podcast, creating connections, meaningful connections, serving people, over delivering and servicing them without expecting anything in return, and yet being the very thing that opens up even more doors. Living with integrity. These two gentlemen embody this, and I'm so proud that I get to introduce these gentlemen on my own platform. And I'm so humbled to be surrounded by them because they've also done amazing things in our community, not only as investors, as educators, but as two very driven men with a purpose. And that is Ryan Bevilacqua and Cory Jacobson of the Wealth Juice podcast at the Wealth Juice Official. These two studs, I connected with them way back in the beginning, about 2-3 years ago, when they were just building out their brand. And now they've had amazing individuals such as Greene and Brandon Turner, David Osborne, all these individuals who are movers and shakers and leaders in our space by just having a platform, documenting their journey, helping someone along the way, and not being afraid to go big, not only in their entrepreneurship life, but also in their personal life. And because I align with that, if you align with it, then you're totally going to get a kick out of this episode. Without further ado, let's get into it, shall we? We on live, man. We're gonna make this like a, like a barbershop talk. Listen, I gotta give you guys your flowers first, man. We got Cory in the building. We got Ryan Bevilacqua, Cory Jacobson. And it's so funny because I believe in our space, man. I think it's like, I truly believe it's like beyond 6 degrees of separation now. I don't think we're doing like two to three. Like, it's just such a small world. We just chopped it up just now. You were talking about Cape Cod. Love Cape Cod. Got married in Cape Cod. It's got a vacation rental in Cape Cod. Love it. You know about the Cape Cod bagels, so I know you already know. But at the same time, we had crossed paths, before, on just some, branding, content, and I honestly connected with you guys. I don't know if you know, like right away, I was like, dude, I love your brand. Like, your brand it's just authentic. And every time, I don't know if you guys see, like, I'm always like liking your posts because I feel like there's that quantum entanglement, as I call it, where there's like a mutual alignment. We're all trying to do the same thing. But actually, I shouldn't make that assumption. What is it? I want to connect first because I believe you guys are a reflection both of two individuals, but you're coming in collectively. And I would want to know behind the scenes real quick for my audience, kind of who the people are behind the brand that you're building, why you're doing it, and what are some aspirations? Because I know you guys are very hungry. And since we spoke 2 years ago, honestly, I'm not quite sure, but I'm seeing you guys are making moves, but I know there's a lot that goes behind the scenes. So why don't we let's start with Cory. Cory, let's start with you, man. What's the background? How did you two connect? And then where was the mutual kind of alignment? And where are you guys going? Where are we driving the ship?
Well, great questions and good to see you again, Ruben. This is awesome. So
Sure.
we connected because of consistency, really, because we are both putting out a lot of content. You know, you come across each other's pages, and I do notice that you like our and comment on our stuff. So it doesn't go unnoticed. Thanks for always supporting. Um, our story is kind of like Ryan and I met in college. We mentioned Philadelphia. 13 every time I get on a podcast and it adds up, right? And I think it's like 14 years ago at this point. And we kind of like Ryan and I connected on a level where like I just feel like there's something more than just a friendship. Like I don't know what it's going to be. Business partnership, we didn't like establish it back then, but we were just like, this is cool. Like we just thought the same, you know, had a lot of the same habits. We ended up working at the same company and living together after school. So to get to your question about the brand, basically I bought a house hack, 3-bed, 2-bath. I lived in one of the bedrooms, rented out the others, went from paying $1,000 a month to living for free. And then I was able to save up some cash for the first time ever and buy a duplex. And Rye saw that I was doing that. We've been close and connected, but he bought a primary residence with his wife. And my thought process and our thought process was, well, look, I think there's a lot of people out there that are telling their story of what happened 20 years ago. Let's tell our story in the real time. So I was like, let's start a podcast. Let's start a social media platform. Let's buy real estate together and then just share organically what we're doing with the people that whoever's willing to listen. Right. And Rye was like, look, if we're going to do this, we're going to go all in. Like he was a little hesitant at first. He's like, what do we have to share? We have 2 units, 3 units. Like who's going to listen to us? And my thought process was, well, hopefully they just like going along the journey as opposed to looking back because it's more relevant. So we started the podcast, social media platform, 2020, literally April, like COVID, right in the middle of it, you know, doing it on Zoom on our laptops. And we just never stopped. And I think what ended up happening was we kind of brute forced our way to like 7, 8 units between us, duplex, triplex, single family. And then the partnership started to form because of the rooms we were able to get in and amplify others' voices. And they felt that. Those people felt that. And they're like, hey, look, maybe you guys are onto something here. I'll never forget David Greene was like, you know, you guys are kind of good at this, like episode 20 or 30, maybe 40. And so we just didn't stop. And then we doubled down and we do 2 podcast episodes a week. You know, maybe eventually it'll be 3, but in terms of where we want to go, our real estate portfolio has grown. The biggest emphasis right now is teaching others how to do the same thing, teaching others how to buy their first or next rental property, because I know how much it changed our lives. And I know how much having a mentor in the beginning would have exponentially driven it forward even more. So I want to be that mentor to people because we can tell you how to go from 0 to 5 pretty easily. If you came to me and you're like, hey, I have 20 units, can you help me get to 80? I'd be like, yes, but there's probably someone who can help you better than us. So we know ourselves. And that's really the idea, is that we have a mentorship program. We're buying real estate in the Northeast and with partnerships, and we're trying to grow really our brand and our mentorship. And Ryan probably left some out, but that's the story, man.
Dude, that's sick. No, I couldn't unpack so many things there. I want to give Ryan an opportunity to what gaps did Cory miss, if any, that you want to fill?
I think you pretty much nailed it, but just to kind of put a bow on it, like we've gone through the process many times to buy property. And a lot of times we have friends and family members reaching out to us to say, hey, we see what you're doing. How can we get involved? You know, I want to rent a property. I think for us and people in the game, including probably yourself, Ruben, right? Real estate investors, we're taking down deals left and right. Maybe it's only one deal a year, but you're still accumulating a portfolio, right? And some people, they can't even buy a home today. It's just so priced high, and then they're not making a ton of dough, or they feel overwhelmed. They don't even know the process, right? And so we had a million different questions coming in, and it kind of led us to this point where we realized there was a need for it in the market. And for us, every day, instead of just pumping out podcast episode after episode, like we had to put goals and things behind it. Like, what do we want to do with this whole company that we've built? And we have our real estate arm, right? But then we also have a media company through the podcast, and then also through the Instagram, right? So to capitalize on that, and to continue to be able to do it at a high clip and at a very like high level, it's like there has to be revenue behind it. So there's a lot of different things, but overall, we just decided, hey, you know what? let's try a mentorship program. We see a ton of them out there. Let's be authentically us and put something together that we needed when we started our journey, right? We were two guys working corporate, putting money into our 401k. We had the taxable brokerage accounts, the Roth IRA, but then the next step, right? Logically, if you're researching this stuff is real estate investing, right? And most 90% of millionaires are made up of or have real estate in their portfolio of some capacity, right? Or make up their millions through real estate investing. So instead of recreating the wheel, Cory and I said, okay, let's just find our lane within this and try it. And it all comes back every time we go through a conversation about this is like, do you have your first? And if not, we recommend starting at the very basic level. If you can do it, house hack, where you buy either a single family and rent out the extra bedrooms, or you buy a duplex, you rent out the other unit, right? And then if you can't do that, then just buy a single family home and rent it out. And so there's stages to this, but I think it's led us to the point where now, at least for myself, we can talk about divvying up the business and things, but I really like working on the business. And I kind of see Cory, like he's really good at working in the business. And so it's like finding how we can evolve this thing. So our goal now is to build $1 million mentorship program, right? And so that's not only going to fuel us, it's going to provide a ton of value for other people, because the more revenue we can bring in, the more we can bolster the program and get you from A to Z faster. And we can get into all the details about it, but nonetheless, instead of just every day investing in real estate, Cory and I have kind of like pivoted we're still buying our long-term portfolios, right? The tried and true single family homes that are going to be our long-term buy and hold properties. Then we also do a lot in the large multifamily space. We have a business partner up in New England, which you and I can talk about that offline, Ruben. But basically, he is the boots on the ground, and we do the investor relations. We raise the capital. We bring in pools of our people into deals, as long as we vet them out, obviously. But we courted this gentleman for about 2 years, basically dated to say, hey, is he the real deal? What's he doing? And I wanted to get closer to home, right? I told you I grew up there, and so I know the market. I've plenty of family in the areas that we're investing, and so it was the perfect marriage, and it's been awesome. And that's just another way for us to invest in real estate, but also focus on what we really like doing. And we really like doing is interviewing other people, getting to know how they became super successful, then also sharing our story, and then inspiring others and helping others, right? And so I think it's all come to a head, and like that's kind of a catch up from where we are now. I think our goal here, just to we've pivoted. It's probably a less of a real estate goal at this point because we have a pretty good portfolio. It's let's build $1 million education program and help as many people as we possibly can.
Damn, so much good there. It's funny when I hear you. I definitely hear a lot of similarities, man. When I started my experiments, and there was definitely some imposter syndrome around the content, right? It's like we only have. I didn't even own real estate when I started the real estate experiment before we rebranded it to In the Lab, which I think is a thing that one of my mentors talks about. Start when you're not ready. But then you talked about being in the right rooms. I gotta ask you before I unpack these pillars. Do you guys know? I mean, are you Russell Brunson guys? Like, do you guys know Russell Brunson? Like, are you big fans? Like,
so I love Russell Brunson. I think he's one of the best, if not the best marketer of all time, just for connecting people. But we have not, like, for example, like on the business side, I have not dove into ClickFunnels, right? Like, go high level. But yes.
No, the reason I mentioned that, because there's a bunch of different, and I've dabbled with ClickFunnels, and then we ended up kind of using our own proprietary software, which it's funny because in my head, I've always had the goal, like 2 comma club, like that was a thing, but it's like, I'm not using the platform. So how can I actually get one of those awards? But, with that being said, the reason I say that is because you both mentioned this, right? Well, Russell Brunson talks about, like, even in his book Expert Secrets, he talks about, like, you don't have, like, everyone, like, I look at myself still a student, but if I'm the student that's taken the test and studied the chapters and I ace the test, it's not that I have everything figured out, but I can help someone along the way, like a freshman, right? And guide them because I'm just a couple steps ahead. And I think that's just really important when you think of, like, consulting, when you think of education. It doesn't mean that, like, you're a guru, but it means that if you've done it and you have a proven proof of concept in the system, then yes, by any means, definitely help someone in need who's just a couple steps behind. And that's what Russell Brunson talks about. And I think that's important because sometimes we know so much and we can actually provide a service. In your case, you can, but you sometimes we get in our own way and we say, oh, well, who am I? You're someone who's done the thing, and you can help someone who hasn't done the thing yet. So for anyone who's listening, I think that's a good kind of reference point, because that's what Russell Brunson talks about in Expert Secrets. It doesn't mean you're an expert. It just means you're a couple of steps ahead, which you guys are. And you're see, the goalpost always moves too, right? You're constantly applying goals. Another thing I got to ask you though, are you guys Gary Vaynerchuk fans? Like, were you kind of following him at the time?
Yeah, he's someone that I've followed for a long time. We're probably like locked in the most on Alex Hormozy right now in the last 6 to 8 months, 6 to 9 months. Like, he's probably somebody that I've like attached myself to as it relates to like listening to his podcast and some of his books. Gary seems to be always ahead of the trends. So he's somebody that I've always years I've been following him.
Yeah. No, the reason I asked Cory too is because one of the things, Gary was the one who inspired me to. There's so much value in documenting the process that you're gonna look back and be like, it's not like a lot of people are like, oh, here's where I am, but not a lot of people have content around here's where I started and here's how it's going. And I think that's actually more relatable, and I think that's why you guys have this affinity where it's kind of like, okay, I really like these guys, or at least I do. I'm kind of in the same path. Like, I'm trying to figure this thing out too. And I'm constantly making growth, and I'm also documenting the process. I do think, even selfishly, I think it's going to taste so much sweeter when you can actually look back and be like, damn, like I have all this content that I can actually go back. You can even show your kids or your grandkids and be like, this is how it started. And this is literally, you can't make this up. Like, I have receipts to show. I think that's really cool. We don't talk about that enough.
It's like the timeline, watching yourself grow in real life, which is insane, right? You can watch it through pictures if you go back through your camera roll. But, I look at this where kind of like our YouTube page, there's been so many times I've been debating to take down our first video because it's so bad, or just in my head, I know I'm not going to do it. But then, Cory's just like, dude, just think about it. That's where we started. It was two guys, same bedroom, looked completely different. And just like goofballs trying to talk about real estate during the pandemic. And I say goofballs because we're just so naive, didn't know really what we didn't know. And just, we're so different from that same guys, but so much more seasoned, right? We're 5-year veterans of business at this point. I wouldn't say veterans, but back then we just didn't know what we didn't know about real estate, with business, people, and we were the 9-to-5 guys. And so it's just so interesting to basically agree with your point here. I love being able to go back and see that stuff. It gives you secondhand embarrassment, but to see your evolution as a person is really cool.
100% love that. So it's funny. You mentioned there's a few things I want to unpack, right? Like the looking back. Yeah, that's gonna be really cool. But then just thinking about, do you guys journal at all? Like, do you, or is it just content? I'm just curious. This is like asking off the cuff. Because I was thinking about this yesterday when I was driving. Do you, Cory, or do you, Ryan?
I don't. No. I mean, our journal is basically our virtual resume or digital scrapbook of our content. I don't have any outside. Maybe I should. I mean, I've heard from a number of people it's therapeutic and it could potentially help you kind of get centered, but I don't do it.
Ryan?
No, I use my notes app on my iPhone, but nothing about like writing down my everyday, like, hey, what I experienced and things like that. No.
Yeah, so it's the reason I bring this up, guys, is like I was thinking about this. I swear, when I was driving yesterday, I was like, I was thinking, like, how you look at a timeline of like, because honestly, I think so. It was triggered in one of our mastermind texts. Someone said, like, I saw a line that was like, "Has anybody seen this before?" It like had the flat line or whatever, and I don't know where my thought went. I don't know if I borrowed that thought or this idea, but I was like, if I were to document the micro and macro milestones and setbacks, because I had a major setback this past week. I was like, damn, bro, this is gonna be a good story. And if you like Alex Hormozy, Cory, he'll be like, the bigger this you slay the dragon, the better the story, right? Love it. But I was thinking, dude, like, I'm like, this is gonna be so micro at some point, but it's so macro right now that I'm like, it'd be so nice to do like a little graph of like logging. Like, there should be an app where you can actually log like your events, because you're gonna look back and be like, dude, I remember, like, currently when you're journaling. Here's why I bring up journaling. I promise I'm bring this full circle. When you journal, because I journal. I've been doing it over 10 years, but I don't do it every day. I do it like on a monthly or quarterly. I've been bad actually. Sometimes I'll check in quarterly. Here's where I'm at. Here's where I'm taking my business. And it's just fascinating when you go back to see what your mind was thinking in retrospect. Like if you find like I have a 75-year-old friend, like literally his perspective is like, Ruben, you're worrying about something that in the grand scheme of a 75-year-old life, it won't even matter whether you do it this quarter or next quarter. That's irrelevant. And I'm like, having that perspective is just like so funny, because in when you've lived, like, being in my third decade of my life, it's kind of like what I see is what I see, but when you zoom out, you might see it differently. But it'd be interesting to capture the thoughts of where you were at and how little that problem is, or how big it was for you, but how little it is in like retrospect. I don't know. Call me
Yeah.
crazy, but I was just really thinking about that. I'm like, dude, that'd be dope to have something like that. Forget the content for other people. I'm talking about for myself, where I can look back and just see like the trajectory of like down, upward, like an upward trajectory of a stock. Thoughts?
The entrepreneurial journey is oftentimes extremely lonely, which is why Ryan and I
Yes.
have a partnership that we feel is like keeps us grounded, keeps us connected, keeps us, kind of level, because there's times where you feel like your problems are massive, and if you surround yourself with people who are their problems, like if you're saying they're macro to you, but they're micro to other people. And that's why finding your tribe or people that are on that same journey or that same path as you is so valuable, because you think the problems are massive, but there are other people out there that have experienced them and overcome them very easily. So how do you get in the rooms with people that do it that way, or that think about the problems as just another bump in the road that's not actually this massive thing? But that only comes from, one, experience going through it, but two, putting yourself in the rooms with people that are a couple steps ahead, not 10, not 20, not 100, but a few that are like, hey, I just saw this. This is what you should do. This is what I did. And that's why we believe so much in community.
Brian, anything to that?
I think you just nailed it. Truly, like,
Of course
going
he did.
through-
He's your partner.
Yeah.
Why
So
would you partner with a guy that doesn't
I don't
consistently
want to
nail
take
it?
too much time. No, that was good.
Yeah. No, so okay. That's interesting. Let's talk about I want to talk about what you just said, because you've said it, both of you guys, because I'm very intentional when I listen to studs like you speak. You guys mentioned getting in the right rooms, like you referenced it like 5 times. You want to unpack what that means, because we hear that, like, sometimes I feel we hear the word like networking, offer value, and it becomes very ambiguous. What does getting in the right room mean for you? I'll go with you, Ryan. So that someone who's listening, including myself, I want to hear like, oh, what's your perspective of getting in the right room?
Okay. So I have a bunch of different perspectives. Let me just start out with the book recommendation for people that like this topic. It's called Tribe of Millionaires by David Osborne. He's the creator of Go Abundance. And that's just a group of collective individuals that are millionaires, right? And they just work to better their lives, not only professionally, but personally. So just very well rounded. And they go to like take adventure trips and all this. But that book was derived from the program. And basically it's like surrounding yourself with people that are at that next tier. You have to kind of like earn your way in there, but a lot of different things. So for me, I think about just as we evolve as people, right? It's very interesting where I'm at a stage in my life where I go to work, right? The 9 to 5, I'm still balancing the W-2 and then the entrepreneurial world. And it's on one side of the coin. I am around people that are fully ingrained in the matrix of, hey, I'm just going to work till I'm 67, retire with the 401k, and like show up every day. My mindset is like, how am I expediting my process here to shorten my retirement time horizon, doing this like very calculated on the risk scale. But now that I'm in both rooms, I'm talking to 7 to 9 figure entrepreneurs on a daily basis. Ruben, we're in a mastermind together. Cory and I are in a couple other ones. So I have to shut my like dumb brain off in a way to turn on my like intelligent brain. And I don't know if dumb brain is the right way to say it, but like that one side of the coin where every day the days that I'm in the office, right? Like I'm talking to former me, because the people to my left and right are still going through the cycle of showing up every day, clocking in, trying to make money for the company, which is all great. And that's for certain people. But it's not for me. That's not my end goal. Right. So that's an interesting topic of conversation. And then for me, I had to figure out, and I think this is just dialing it back to Cory and I, like when he's full-time in the business now, right? He's elevated, and we have strategically done this and planned this out. So don't think there's very much intentionality behind this. And we've kind of gone through our learning journey on that. But within this whole thing, Cory and I basically had to sit down and say, like, dude, how do we level up? Right. And we were subconsciously doing this every week, because what we would do with starting the podcast is interviewing other very highly successful real estate investors. Every single week, no matter what, we were in class. We got a free masterclass of people teaching us the game. Like, how did you get to the level you got to? That was getting into the right rooms. And then it's like taking those relationships and bringing them into real life. Because once you meet that person in real life, things change. There's human emotions, connection. It's different, right? So all in all, it's encouraging people that are in a certain space to say, hey, if you are not where you think you belong or where you should be, you need to force yourself out to get into an uncomfortable situation, because you're not going to feel like you belong there right away. And what type of value can you provide those people? Prime example, in my 9 to 5, I had one of my clients. He's a great guy. He was going through, we've known each other for probably 15 years now, or maybe 12 years. A little bit less than Cory and I have known each other, but I just showed him as much love and compassion and helped him out on a daily basis, just checking in with him. I didn't realize how much of an impact I made on him personally, that when I started bringing up real estate and I said, hey, Cory and I are thinking about getting our first property, all this stuff. And he's like, he owned the title company, by the way. And just so happened he was my favorite client, and it had nothing to do with real estate. He's like, dude, I got you. Where are you guys thinking about investing? And I was like, well, but Cory's got his first place in Jersey. He's like, my entire portfolio is in South Jersey. I got you. Who do you need for a connection? Let's start the journey. So Cory and I were able to book a quick meeting, not have to go through any gatekeeper, and go to someone that knew, liked, and trusted me, right? And then inherently would do that to Cory. And because I had given the guy probably at this time 7 years of just unconditional value, love, like treated his family well, like helped him out with the product he was buying, that the company that I worked for, but we had this human connection. He wanted to give back in abundance. He's like, dude, I got you. He treats me as his kid. And so like he has, he's kind of going through a little rocky relationship with his personal kid, his family. And I didn't mean to do this, right? It was just me being me and just kind of like the mediator and helping him, coaching him through life events where now we're connected at the hip. Like at first ring, he picks up. And so that had allowed us, Cory and I, to get in the game. And then if we ever had an issue, it was like, oh, well, I can call so-and-so and he's got a connection for us. If he can't figure it out, he'll help us figure it out. Cory also had a similar connection. Someone through his personal background that had real estate saw what Cory was doing. This guy showed up at our first 5 projects and just was there every time doing cheap work, doing it half some of the time for free, and just being like, hey, you guys should look at this differently based on what I've seen from my portfolio. So we just had this whole thing is basically saying, you asked the question about providing value to others. It doesn't have to come in the form of dollars. It can come in the form of friendship, and can come in the form of, hey, they're lacking something in their life. Can you fill that void? And they want to be around you. And just being an active listener, because I think too many people go through life and they're looking at the end result and they're saying, hey, I just need to get to this position. How do I chase the money? When you're an active listener and you can provide those little slivers of value, maybe this person very much values like, records from the 70s or something like that, and they can't find a certain one, you go find it for them, right? Little things, because you listen to their what they tell you about their habits, with their hobbies, what they like to do. It does not have to come in the form of real estate investing or whatever they're proficient at. It can just very much be like the human side of like that person. So I know there's a lot. I don't know if I tied it together perfectly, but I firmly believe you have to force yourself out of your comfort zone and go meet the people that are doing what you want to do at a very, very high clip and showing them some type of value.
Yeah, you touched on 2 planes, actually. I'm glad you went there, and it so happened so serendipitously, right? One is, you start by serving the room that you're in, right? So you don't have to, right? So, which is human relations, right? But then there's also the just, treating every person, right? With integrity and taking good care of them, because it's like when I open the show with, it's a small world, right? And it always goes back down to relationships at the end of the day, and or the person that knows the right who, not necessarily the right who, but the person is going to know the right who, and 3 degrees of separation, right? It's funny because originally when I asked the question, like, what does getting in the right room mean to you? It kind of went also into podcast being also one of them, right? And this is, I think, like one of the biggest hacks that you mentioned, right? Like you can even have a master class, you can interview people, make them feel good because people love it, right? How to win friends and influence people. It's being an active listener, and making them, people just feel important when you're actually interested, not interesting. I think sometimes we get caught up in content. I mean, oh, I'm really interesting, but no, what's interesting or what being interested means is inquisitive, curious, and asking like, how'd you do that? And people love to do that, which I think podcasting is that bridge, or having a show, whatever it is you want to call it, whatever the medium is, having a show or having a podcast, whatever the case might be, it's creating that bridge of almost uh creating the right room in your own living room. Like, what a time to be alive when you and I'm currently here in Boston. You guys are both in Philly right now. I mean, and we can curate an environment based on a discussion of topics that we want. Now, I will say, and I'm curious to see, like, when you guys kicked off the show, I mean, you mentioned guys like David Greene, like that's pretty dope. Um, were you kind of what were you blown away the most by, or like any limiting belief out there that might be around, like, getting people that you actually want to speak to in the room? Like, do you feel that it is truly, yeah, man, it's not for everybody, or do you truly feel like, no, actually just take the intention and you can actually pretty much get anyone you want? I want to cover that because I think that's a pretty interesting thing where you see, I've asked rich people in my network the same thing. I'm like, dude, how'd you get this guy? And sometimes I know from my experience, it can be definitely a long process, but I'm asking the question because someone might be on the other side listening, be like, how do I actually, if I'm not in the right room, how do I bring the room into my living room virtually? And what can I expect? Because I know you guys are long-term guys and you're building a brand. Like, what is that process like?
Well, Ruben, you mentioned about being interested. There's actually a term for this, and I don't know who coined it, but I've heard it from Chris Williamson, another person that I listen to a lot.
Dude, you and I, we're gonna have a playlist that we share together because I'm tapped in. Chris Williamson and Alex Ramosi are for when I think of the framework in my mind that I borrow a lot of. One of my mentors says, I apologize to cut you off, I just want to reference that. Mentor says, borrow people's mental syntax, their physiology, and how they see the world. I truly align with those guys. So go back to the interesting thing. What is that from Chris
Well, it's
Williams?
he coined it. I don't know if he coined it, but this is where
Yeah.
where I heard it is reverse charisma. And basically what that is, I think Ryan and I both have that. It's kind of naturally, is that you are naturally the person that's asking all the questions and making build the other person up that you're talking to and putting them on a pedestal and making them feel good and making them feel like the main character. And inherently what happens is that those people start to like you because you're really like in tune with what they have to say. And even the conversation can go a lot like this. Oh man, I really like Ryan. Like, and then if you're talking to somebody else, not Ryan, I really like Ryan. Oh, what's cool about him? And you're like, I don't know. Did he talk about himself? No, I actually don't even really know what he said. Like, he didn't say anything about himself, but it's like, I like the fact that he was building me up. And that's truly like, I didn't know that we had this. I didn't go into the podcast like, oh, we have this, but the reverse charisma of asking the right questions and really digging maybe a couple layers deeper to get to know the person behind the business, or the why behind the person even. And to do that has really been the thing that allowed us to be, what, I don't know if you want to call us good podcasters, but like consistent at least. So that's to us, like in the beginning when people were like, hey, you're kind of good at this, it was just really digging in, and showing a genuine interest to, not just like, hey, I have a list of questions, let me ask them. It's like, okay, now that you hit on this, let me go deeper and let me build upon this, and maybe I can help you around from the back door with this sort of way to bring you value. So handing out business cards isn't networking. Like, that's bullshit. Like what networking is building up people and bringing them the value. And that can be in the form of reverse charisma. And then the next layer is like actually bringing them something to their doorstep. So, and Rye, I can see that you wanted to say something, but that was why the podcast started to work for us.
Yeah, dude. I think actually didn't realize there was a term for it. I love it. Reverse charisma. I think if you asked Cory and I what our superpower is, right? Yeah. And it just so happens we have a very similar one. And that is that reverse charisma, but amplifying the voices of others and just making them feel good, heard, and seen. I think we have that in real life. Like, you walk into a room and you can light up a room, but you hold a conversation, you ask people about them. It's never about you. Obviously, people nowadays are a little bit more interested in us and what we're doing because we have the social media that like people see and follow. But other than that, growing up, you know, I think my dad, it probably goes back to him. Like he instilled in me at a very young age, like not to say we were super wealthy by any means, but he had his own company. He did well. He had worked on his own time and was always working, but we were able to do certain things. Right. And going through school, he always was like, I just want you to make sure that you understand you're not better than anyone else. And anytime I would do anything, even slightly remotely that put myself up on a pedestal, he'd just shoot me right down and be like, dude, who do you think you are? Like, why would you ever talk to that person that way? And so at a young age, I was always the one to corral people. I was always the mediator. If it was, we had special needs programs within our school program, I would volunteer for those. And just there's just a lot of things with that where it's like helping others and putting other people ahead of you, because you're going to get brought up anyways. To Cory's point, once again, it's like, how do you make people feel? They're not going to remember what you say. They're going to remember how you made them feel. And then they'll be able to carry on that story about you. So inherently, we just have that within us, I think. And then when you bring it to the podcast, to be honest, I like coming on these talking about ourselves. It's cool. But on the other side of the platform, I'm so curious about people just inherently. I want to know how you made it to your level of success. What makes you tick? What are you different? And what can I extract from your story to implement in my life so I can potentially get there too? So if you are, and it's become a hard balance for me, right? Because I'm telling you, I'm still toting both sides of this field. So I'm super interested in conversations when people are like much further ahead from me, entrepreneurs, but I'm taking a hit in my personal life sometimes when I'm around other people and I don't ask the questions anymore. Like, I don't care what you're doing on the weekends. I don't care really that you're going to the third birthday party. And that's not a good thing, really. Like, it's hard for me to shut that brain off and like, be like, dude, just be a human being. Like, you don't always have to be locked in on getting to the next level. So that's just I want to talk about that because that's a tough balance as we kind of navigate these seas of everything. But you asked the question, and then I'll shut up. But you asked the question about, what was one of those moments that made you like almost like an aha moment to be like, whoa, I landed this guest, or like we're doing the thing. So we had a couple guests on. For me, it was Brandon Turner. When we finally got Brandon on the show, he was like one of our like gods of real estate at the time, right? He wrote 2 of the books that we read. We listened to him on Bigger Pockets every single day when we were getting in the game.
Shout out to Bigger Pockets, man.
Shout out BP. And so Brandon, to get David on was awesome. I liked it, but it was like a stepping stone. And to your point of 6 degrees of separation, it's really the 2 degrees. The only way we were able to get Brandon on was to be able to rattle off 10 other people in his close circle that we had on the podcast. And he was like, dude, I got it. No problem. And if they were on the show, that means he's going to be on the show. And so we got him on. But the real, like, then it's kind of spiraled from there because we kind of proved to ourselves, if we got Brandon, we can get anyone. So we started crafting these messages and we realized we used the same message to get Brandon on to get other people on. We had Marcus Colston, who won a Super Bowl with the Saints. We had Tarek Al Musa, who was the host of Flip or Flop, and just big name people in the space. I'm like, how are we having these conversations? And then guys that we read the books about, and they're coming on and giving us like a spark notes of their book. So for some people, it probably doesn't, they're like, okay, that's cool. But people within our niche, they see those people like, dude, that's impressive. Like you're doing it. And that I think stamped our little form of whatever type of authority in the space are like, hey, Ryan and Cory are the real deal. They show up every day. They're still doing this thing, whatever sliver of the world they're in. And so that's what I'm really proud of is we've gotten all these people on the show. We continue to do so, but then also like really build relationships with these guys. And like when we see them eventually, it's gonna be like, I know the Juice guys. They're awesome, and because we made them feel good. So I know there's a long answer to your question, but that's how I've been feeling lately.
Experiment Nation, you've heard me talk about how multiple investors across the nation are landing these lucrative midterm rental insurance contracts by making these small tweaks on the branding and marketing side, especially if you're an existing short-term rental operator. There is a quick and easy shift that you can make with the ride guide in place. And because we've launched a 2-day boot camp that not everyone could attend in real time, I've put together a recording where you can get all the materials and all the guides to focus on rebranding either your short-term rental business or your current midterm rental business, so that you can actually have the insurance companies reach out to you. And then day two is if you want to actually play offense, how you can reach out to them by listing on the right platforms, etc. If you're looking to get this MTR bootcamp so that you can start optimizing and you can start receiving these lucrative contracts that again provide less headaches, less turnovers, unlike the Airbnb space, you can start receiving inquiries today by having the right guide in place. So please go to experimentrealestate.com/MTR bootcamp or click the link in the bio to make sure you get your hands on the midterm rental insurance bootcamp to fast track your way into landing these lucrative insurance contracts the exact same ways multiple investors have taken advantage of this unknown and untapped niche within the midterm rental umbrella.
No, I appreciate you sharing that because I think there's very similar. I just want to bring back the point home that you echoed, right? It's like there's a little bit of imposter syndrome for all of us, right? Like we're just getting warmed up. We're like, who am I to have blah blah, and but don't let that humility or don't let that imposter syndrome, stay humble, but don't let it stop you from taking the next leap. And the reason this reminds me of when I started, I was like, I didn't own real estate when I started to interview a real estate investor. As a matter of fact, the first person I interviewed had them. I didn't want to interview them because I thought they would ask me how many properties I own. Like that's how ridiculous our minds can be. And so to anyone who's listening, it's like if there's that little voice that is like not true at all, it's just false. It's just fear. It's not faith. That's telling you like, who am I? Why would I? To this day, 325 plus episodes later, no one's asked me about my portfolio. No one's asked me because it doesn't matter. You're there to serve them. And the first person I had on the show had 300 million assets under management. And once I got over that, I was like, oh, okay. And then it just kind of domino effect. And you're just like, oh yeah, like I'm actually giving people, people love to talk about themselves. And if they see a little bit of themselves in you as well, which is, I'm sure is the same thing when you think of Brandon Turner, like he started with a show, he understands what you're doing, he understands the value. And again, serving those people who don't know are connected close, that will open up doors. And it's so funny. Like I'm talking about it right now, guys, and not to get into it, we can talk about it offline, but like, I don't know if you guys know Jamie Gruber.
Yes.
Very
Dude,
well. We were in a merge at one point.
that's my guy. So he's the one who opened up so many doors for me in my agency, Invested Talent. And by the way, we did do a Tribe Millionaires marketing for them behind the scenes because of Jamie. Like we handled that. Like it's just so crazy. But like having that one person that opens up that door and look where we're here. Like and the fact you can drop someone's name like that and be like, oh yeah, that's a good guy. That's your brand too, is everything, right? So it's just such a crazy small world. So key takeaway here, there's definitely a key takeaway. Definitely the podcasting can definitely open up a lot of rooms and at the same time allow you to bring some people that in proximity and then open up more doors. I want to talk about this thing you keep bringing up, and I think is really important because we're in this and I mean you specifically, Ryan, you brought this up. You brought up the whole turning your dumb brain and you're kind of in between both worlds. On one world, it's kind of like you have people who maybe just don't have that vision of building an exit strategy. And I've been there, right? Because I'm from the corporate world and I'm a consultant now in that sense, but I don't have to go in or anything like that. But I've been in that world, man. And we don't talk enough about the people who are using their 9 to 5 to fund the dream. And I want to hear a little bit about your experience of how you navigate between those two worlds, because there might be someone who's listening who's like super inspirational. It's a means to an end. They have an exit. They have a plan. Maybe they're using the W-2 to invest. Maybe they're using it to fund their dream. What is your experience? You want to talk about that because you mentioned it a few times. We didn't unpack it, but I'm like, what do you say to someone who is kind of in that situation where they're kind of like they're going into this environment that's a complete 180 from the other environment of entrepreneurship that is, by the way, super transparent. People usually talk about their success and goals, etc. And then you go into an office where people don't even want to tell you what their salary is. It's like, how is this mindset so limited? How do you navigate through it, and what advice would you give from your experience?
It's a great question, man. And you just nailed that. People are very much protective of things, and I'm flying around talking about dollars, and they're like, "What? What? Like, this is uncomfortable." I'm like, "Well, oh, this is just me. Like, I don't know." But it's because I'm in rooms with, you know, frequently with other people that it's just commonplace, right? So,
but I'm so sorry. It's such a good comment. I don't want to let it slip through the cracks. Don't you think that's why though entrepreneurs? I truly believe, isn't that the reason why they're able to get ahead? Because I have this conversation with my wife all the time. If you're working in a silo and you don't know what's possible, you don't know what your director is making, you don't know what this position makes. How is that going to open up the curiosity to even go into that avenue? Because you don't know. And that's my problem, honestly, with the whole 9 to 5 world. There's this almost the scarcity mindset of like, oh, you never ask someone how much they make, oh, you never ask someone how much. Then how do you open up the door to even make it possible? Because when my buddy shares with me, I'm like, dude, you made this much this month, how? And we're just an open book. That's how I'm like, dude, it's possible. And by the way, we give each other tips because there's an abundant state of mind. So sorry, man, that
No.
you kind of poked a button that I get a little fired up about. I mean,
Dude,
isn't that the point?
100%, dude. There's so much to unpack there. I'll just to stay on the same wavelength, and then I'll go back. You mentioned talking to a friend that's doing a certain thing that's really well, right? Cory and I have always been open about our money situation, right? And I think that's allowed us to pull different levers. Like right now, I'm still working. I have income coming in. He's living off the business income, right? So we've found a very happy blend there. It's like, let's take care of Cory. We have to keep this thing going. And then eventually I will step into the business full time as well. Once it gets to a certain point, I think people think they need to burn the boats and go all in. Cory and I have been very fortunate, and I think we got to give ourselves a little bit of credit. We've put a lot of intentionality behind this, starting in the day one when we started getting into the real estate business. We're like, well, the real estate business is going well together. This podcast business is going well together. The Instagram within that, the media, it's all been going pretty well. It's because it's open lines of communication, and we put ourselves before the dollars. Like, I don't care about the money as much as I care about like, hey, are Cory and I good? Like, are we still getting better and having fun with what we're doing, or what are we doing? Right. But there's a challenge there because you need to survive. And if you're going to do the thing full time, you need to have a certain, you have to be able to afford your lifestyle, but then also still pay for down the line. So a lot of different things in there, but we talked to a gentleman the other day that built out an education program. He's a real estate investor, probably has less units than us, probably slightly less experience than us too. And he has built up his education program. He makes $800,000 per month. That's not profit.
That's
I'd imagine. But, and we're like, okay, great. How did you do this, dude? And he was like open about it. It was a couple of weeks back at the mastermind class. I'll send you the link. It's in our mastermind. He was one of the previous guys that came in. And so we're like, we are very aligned. We're both helping very similar group of people. His is more so on the military side. And so basically we got on a call with them, blah, 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 had a conversation. And I'm like, it came down to like, what are Cory and I lacking right now in our business the most? And it was, hey, we can't get to this amount of people because we don't have the reach and the views that he does. And he's done it all through paid ads through Meta. So what do we say? Hey, who's your consultant that you use for your Meta ads? We had a call with them, hired them immediately because we were like, dude, to get to the next level, we have to get there. Now, I'm not saying we're only a couple of weeks in, but I know for a fact, if he's seeing so much success, he's in the same industry, same niche, and his business is kind of similar to ours, we will find a sliver of success to that. I don't know how much it's going to make, but my point is we can then serve way more people than we are doing now. And we just weren't pulling the right levers because we didn't know what we didn't know. But if he wasn't comfortable enough to tell us what he was making per month, I wouldn't have had the confidence or the confidence in his business to say, hey, dude, can we have a call? Like, that's amazing. Yeah. It would have been just like, oh, he's doing really well. I'd assume he's doing good. But then I took it 3 layers deep, wasn't afraid to ask, found the connection, got us on a call. Cool. We hired someone. My point is, in the W-2 world, it's like you're basically fighting for the next $10,000 promotion. You're not fighting for $800K a month. So the ceiling is so high with entrepreneurship, but there's so much continual risk and you get punched in the face every single day. The bad days are probably outweigh the good days, but when you get a really good day, you're crushing. And so I think a lot of it is you have the freedom to build your schedule and craft your schedule, but you also have the fear of the unknown. And if this doesn't work, I'm back to square one. Whereas the corporate world, you're very comfortable. You're protected with the health benefits, the 401k, you know that it's stable. Like, but as long as you're not doing too many bad things, you're probably not going to get let go, right? You're doing it at a high clip. So there's just such a balance there. And I'm bringing it all back to you. That is the dream. You use your 9 to 5 to fuel your 5 to 9, which is the second job, right? And then eventually it fuels your freedom. And so it's a very interesting play that I have going back and forth and like turning maybe it's like the rich dad, poor dad brain, right? So like I got the rich dad brain of the entrepreneurs and then the poor dad of the 9 to 5. And there's nothing against it. I don't feel like I'm better than anyone else. I just know that I want to eventually work for myself full time. I eventually want to do this thing full time. So I'm fueling it with that. I have to be an A player every single day at the 9 to 5, or else that goes away. The fuel to the rocket ship then slows and I have to find something else. So it's this very interesting balance, and it also plays into how Cory and I navigate our relationship and our business as well. But I think it is one thing where people talk about burning the boats all the time. You need to quit to do this. I think that's probably why 90% of small businesses fail in the first year is because people just quit and they don't have any fuel to dump into it. I've invested so much amount of my personal money into our business over the last 5 years.
That's where it all goes.
That's where it all goes. It's
That's
like,
where it all
okay,
goes.
cool. I have auto investing set up, but like for my other stuff. But other
Yeah.
than that, money that we have come in, it's just, hey, we got to hire this person. Oh, we got to do this. And it's all trial and error. And it doesn't always work. And I think not many people are built to handle that. And the older you get, when you start having a family, you get married and things, like your life becomes more over encumbered. And then to take those risks, you just feel like you can't. So you stay, cuffed to the golden handcuffs. And so I don't think there's a perfect answer for it. It's a hard balance. And you kind of have to just gut check yourself every day and just try to push through as best as you can and get around the people that have already done it. And they're like, hey, this is how you navigate it. Because if we didn't have mentors kind of helping us, guide us, we probably would have stopped, a long time ago, I'd imagine.
Yeah. No, but you guys got the perfect yin yang, right? Because yin and yang, I should say. Because Cory, when was it that Cory you went full time into the and we didn't even plug. Did we even plug the whole brand? The weekly, is it still the weekly juice, or did you
Wealth
guys
Juice
rebrand?
now. We rebranded about a
Juice?
year ago.
Okay, the Wealth Juice brand, and is that the name of the pod as well?
Yeah, so it's the Wealth Juice podcast. Our Instagram is at Wealth Juice Official. And then yes, so we were originally the Weekly Juice. A lot of people were like, dude, I love the juice, but what is it? Like, well, it's a podcast that comes out weekly. So wealth covers us across all the board, right? We talk real estate, business, first finance. There you go.
Yeah. Cory, what was the transition for you going in? Because I'm in a circle where there's I know guys and gals who are 100% entrepreneurship or some guys who just recently jumped over, and similar to Ryan, I'm still in a hybrid where a lot of the funds get reinvested back into the business. But for someone like you who's like, okay, all in, works out perfectly with you and Cory, you and Ryan, what has been your experience since kind of being, okay, great, now I have all this time and I can work in the business? Is it truly a blessing? Is there more pressure? Like, how does that work? And maybe your situation is a little bit different because you have obviously a partner that you can count on to kind of balance that out. But what was your thought process on that?
It's both. It's a blessing and there's more pressure. So it's like, my ceiling, our ceiling, only is as high as it is because we have one of us full time. We can't do this with both of us being half in. And I don't say half in is like Ryan's giving half the effort, but like half the time, right? Or less time. So because we both match each other effort for effort, and that's why our relationship is so great. But I think that it is this floor that you have that's non-existent. The floor is zero, right? So when you have a 9 to 5, you have a floor of your security, so it takes a certain mentality to be like, you have these windfalls of these great months, but can you handle the pitfalls of the bad months? And so for me, I left September 2024, and we've had some amazing months and we've had some bad months. And I think to understand that the timeline that we're trying to squeeze something into can take 5 years, on a day-to-day basis, you have to frame yourself in the right mindset to understand that this, just like real estate, is a long game. It all is a long game. So you have to be able to take the punches and roll with them and understand that, to take from Alex Hormozy, he had 2,000 downloads a month on his podcast until year 4. And he was Alex
You
Hormozy.
really need to echo that. That's insane. Just for perspective.
And we're in year 5. So why am I worried about the number of downloads or the revenue? Because you have to just outlast other people. That's really what it comes down to. You just have to outlast. And I'm not suggesting that I'm some like tough guy. It's just that you just know that you take the good with the bad. You try to celebrate the wins as you can. I just came back. I just literally took a red eye in last night because I was golfing in Bandon Dunes in Oregon, and I didn't want to go on this trip. Like I was like, I don't think I should go. Like, I don't think I should do it. Like, I don't think I deserve it. I don't think the business is where I want to be. And then I realized myself, like, I will never think that. I will never think it's where it should be. That's the entrepreneurial good and bad. So I went on this trip and it gave me a newfound perspective of just like, this whole thing's finite. I don't have time to play around. Like, it's all or nothing. It's let's go, because we're going to die eventually. Like, something bad is going to happen. I don't know when that's going to be. So the hardest balance, Ruben, is the balance between go, and try to make this thing happen every single day and enjoying your life in the meantime. And I think that if you can figure out that balance, and you're winning, in my opinion. You're winning. Whatever balance that is and that works for you, you're winning. So I'm not even sure if I totally answered your question, but like, I left in September and I've been in this mode of trying to navigate, hey, how can we expedite this as fast as possible while having patience, while still trying to live and enjoy the process. So, but I always come back to the quote, it's not about the journey or the destination, it's about the company. So having people around you that you enjoy living with and for, I mean, what else can you really ask for?
That's so good. It kind of makes me think of this quote. I was trying to pull it up here. It says, "The good old days are happening right now. Every single thing you do today is something that your 80-year-old self will wish they could go back and do."
Yeah, it hits hard. Something like that's like, if you were a billionaire and you were 85 and you were going to die in a couple of years, like, wouldn't you trade that to be broke in 25 or 33? I'm 33. I would, so that's a hard balance, man. Like, the real talk of it, it's the hard balance of trying to figure out how, because made it is not a thing. Made it is inside your mind. That's really where it lies. So, and
how do you guys look at that? Thank you, Cory. I don't mean to cut you off. I just, I'm curious, when you say made it, I'm thinking, even personally, like, what is your take on milestones and goals, right? Because I actually have one mentor that says he doesn't set goals. He sets measurable actions, right? So we're going to record a podcast twice a week and we're going to live with the result, right? Or we're going to get to 1 million followers in 2 years. How do you guys, because I think this is a very interesting kind of perspective, right? I think some people are big on that. Where do you guys stand on that? Because I feel like you guys you're emotionally intelligent, but at the same time, you're also very intentional. So I'm curious, where does that sit with you guys?
I think it goes back to this overarching conversation about the world right now, and everyone's chasing a dollar, right? The system is built around us. You can't enjoy the fruits of your labor without doing the labor, which is, and that's hard for a lot of people because, quite frankly, I had a couple of days off of work today, being one of them, and yesterday. And I just needed it so badly, from like a break from our business and a break from the 9 to 5. And dude, I had one of my perfect days, and this is going to be very sad for most people because this is how crazy the day went. I woke up, I went for a run. After the run, I went and got an 1.5-hour massage. After the massage, I went and ate breakfast by myself at the diner. Had the most amazing banana pancake I've ever had, and then a breakfast burrito. And then from there, I went and got a haircut. And then after the haircut, I went and by myself went to see Sinners, the new Michael B. Jordan movie, which was phenomenal, by the way. I'm going to go see it again. And then I went home, got home, and a new ice cream place opened up. And my wife and my daughter and I went and got ice cream. And we played with her little Dalmatian figurines, gave her a tub. After that, they went to bed. Dad decided to give himself a 2-hour stint on Call of Duty. And I played 2 hours of video games. And then after the video games were over, I was like, I'm going to still treat myself. And then I watched another movie. And then I went to bed. And for me, dude, I'm telling you, I woke up today. So maybe it was a massage. I felt amazing. I ripped a 5-mile run this morning, and I felt like, and I don't do this every single day, but I'm just saying, like, I'm back. And it's so funny because I was like, my wife asked me about Corey's trip. She's like, oh, who's on the trip with him? And talk about the friends and stuff. And I was like, he needed that just as much as I needed yesterday. And so we both have our different things. Like Cory is obsessed with golf. He's like tried to master his game over the last couple of years, and just it's his thing. And we had the conversation. He's like, dude, I don't think I should go. And just because we had a very bad April. May has not been the worst, but like we were on a heater. We felt great, and then April was really bad, and he got in his head, and we had to go through all these, whatever, these conversations, and he was feeling guilty. I'm like, dude, what is the point of all this shit? Like, what is the point? Like, go on your trip. And honestly, to not hear from him yesterday, I knew he was having a good time. I was like, and I didn't text him. We both shut it down, and it was great. It was like, dude, we're good. And so I think my point here is we build our lives around our work a lot, and we need to start building our work around our lives, because the simplest day that someone probably has, my yesterday, that's like going back to a single college guy. He can go do all that stuff aside from the ice cream with his daughter. And so it's, what do I value? What I like, my peace of mind to be able to recharge and just do little things for you. You have to do them and realize, like, this world is finite. You don't know when your last day is. And I just like laughed about how much of a good day I had. And it was the most basic thing, because I was just living life. And today we have a couple things on the calendar, not a ton of work. I'm like, I'm not bogged down, super stressed. I know we have this big mountain we need to move with all, and there's so many different things woven into building $1 million business. But I'm like, why we're stressing out so much for all of this stuff? Like, we're never going to be this young. We're never going to be this healthy ever again. So let's like try to find a happier balance here. And so that was just my newfound perspective. Kind of perfect timing for you asking that question. So,
dude, I really love that, man, because that's one thing I will say. There's a lot of mental syntax and wireframes and frameworks that I take, but also have I think for myself. And shout out to Alex Ramosi, right? But I don't always align with his whole thing on. I'm by the way, I'm talking to a workaholic, whatever that means, or I just love what I do and I work hard and I work long hours. Hard is just in the sense of like, I think the longevity, like I can put in a lot of hours without, like, thank God I have my wife, because if it wasn't for my wife, I'd be like, oh, I'm like, wait, what? It's time to eat? Like, wait, we should go on a trip? Like, I can do that. So definitely I have that muscle. But I also do believe, I love what you said, Ryan, about just remembering, and Cory, you said this too in the beginning, like just remembering why we're doing this, right? Like, I just had my family over on the Cape House. Like, they came over, they flew in, like barbecued for them, laughter. And it's like, going back to what Cory said, like, you're always going to want to, like, the goal is always going to move. As humans, we will always adapt to a new normal. As a matter of fact, I have this on my phone. It says, your normal day is someone else's dream, so be thankful every day. Like, you're living someone else's dream. Why can't it be yours? Why can't you be grateful and also be hungry at the same time? And so that's actually where the reflection comes in of like, listen, you're going to get to 1 million, and you know what's going to happen? You're going to be in the $1 million rooms where guys are making 10 million. And then you know what's going to happen? You're going to be in the $10 million room, and there's going to be guys on 100 million. So it never ends, because we just adapt as human nature. So if we could be very conscious of that, and the reason I know this is, I'll give you guys a book. I hope I'm going to remember it. It's by not Chris. It's by Wilkinson. It's called, I'm going to pull it up now because this is very timely. It's about pulling it up right now. It's called the book is called, of course I can't pull it up right now, but it's basically Wilkinson talks about never enough. That's the book, Never Enough. And he went and interviewed billionaires. And the guy who had 100 million was comparing himself to the guy down the street that had 1 billion. And it's just like, if we can remember that for a second, that where you are today was actually a goal of yours, maybe 2 years ago, and that you're actually living out that dream, it puts things into perspective to actually be in the moment, but still, there's nothing wrong with wanting more, but still being very grateful and in the moment where you are. Because one day you wish you could go that golf trip. One day you wish you could have had that person on that podcast and look your daughter in the eye and go to ice cream, and you're doing that damn thing. So it's good to be rooted that way, and it's good to always have that reflection point. And that's actually probably ties it back in. I feel like I got like a journal product or something, but kind of journaling kind of brings it back home to like, oh yeah, I am doing the thing that I said wanted to do. But now I've kind of moved the goalpost. So let me just appreciate this moment right now.
I really just want to jump in here because Cory and I had this conversation the other day, and it was very much April was just a tough month of revenue. Like we were still moving a lot of mountains, and I had to, give him a list of all the things that we were able to accomplish to move the business forward. But also we went to the place of let's look at Cory right now, and I'm saying this is like we're dissecting Cory. It's not this at all. Trust me, I've had bad days and he's coached me through a lot of them. But my point is, I was like, look at your life right now, dude. You are currently doing exactly when we started this podcast, you're doing exactly what you told me you wanted to do. He now has the freedom to work where he wants, when he wants. He has his own Airbnb down in Tampa, Florida, beautiful sunny Tampa that he can go to whenever he wants. His parents can go down there, visit, enjoy it themselves. He has just so many freedoms. He has the real estate portfolio. He has the business. He has the brand, and he has people that look up to him. And he's a coach now. He's been a basketball coach for years, but now he's coaching people in something else that he's proficient at. And so it's just so funny. We tied it all together. I'm like, dude, the only thing is like an abundance of cash coming in every single month. That other than that, like
numbers on a balance sheet, by the way.
Yeah, he's doing it. And so it's just cool for me because I've been able to watch the evolution of him at first time. I'm like, I got that front row seat, which is so cool. And to be able, that's also the benefit of having a partnership, because a lot of times you can't see yourself. And Cory and I talk about this all the time. It's like, it's giving relationship advice to yourself. You cannot do it because emotions are involved. Logically, I can tell him all the things that I've seen him be able to accomplish that he doesn't see because I'm not him. And it's the coolest thing because that's the yin and yang that you mentioned. And I think the benefits of partnerships, this game is very, very hard. But if you can have the right person in your corner, the right people in your corner every day that show up for you and that just remind you, this is about us, dude. This is not about the money. This is who you said you wanted to be, and you're him. Like you're him. Like don't forget that. That's an important thing.
Dude,
this is why relationships are the most important thing. And Ryan and I do this often, where we get on podcasts and we just blow each other up in terms of like how much we love each other and how much we support each other. And I appreciate it. Almost a tear to my eye. I think this is a do this if you're listening. Go find somebody. It can be your spouse if you want to work with your spouse. It can be a partner. It can be a friend. Go find somebody that you want to build something relentlessly with, and don't forget to celebrate along the way. And do it for 5 years, and just shut up and do it for 5 years. And then you'll probably have a story worth talking about. And then a pivot will come and a change will be made, but you'll have something that you can look back on that you've got to enjoy and you've got to build. And that seems to me like a life well lived. So like, it's going to take 5 years though, to even make a dent. We're just in the beginning. We're in inning 3.
Just
2.
Just getting warmed up, as Rich says, right, guys?
Yeah,
we're just getting warmed up.
Yeah,
we're just getting warmed up.
Yeah,
Cory, that was so beautiful, bro.
Yeah,
you were gonna add something.
No, that was it. I just kind of wanted to thank my partner live on air. So that was
appreciate you. I was like, I wish I had a hat on today, dude. My eyes are tearing up. You can see these.
I admire
you. Blues about to drip. But dude, it's powerful stuff, right? Because we have our spouses. And our significant others, right? I have a daughter too. And like, we talk about this why, right? Like why you do what you do, like what's getting you out of bed. Cory and I have built our own little family, right? Like this is our baby. Like our business is like, we just want it to be successful in our own right. But I think sometimes we ask the question to people, hey, what gets you out of bed every morning to do what you do? Like, what's the why behind you? Some people have a chip on their shoulder. I think we both have one. I think there's an intrinsic fire. We're firstborn children. And I think there was a lot of responsibility dumped on us as kids. And like, that's one thing I love talking about. But another thing is like, we've created something from nothing. And Ruben, that's why I love these conversations, like having a conversation with you, because you've done the exact same thing. You had a thought. And you'd be like, dude, this is cool. I would like to do this daily. And I think I can build something. You have a creative brain. You mix creative with logic and you build something from zero and you build it to some level of success. And then you build it to a level of success where you're like, whoa, I couldn't have even fathomed this back in like high school or college, right? Like how the heck did I do this? And then you start meeting certain people and you're in rooms with people and you're like, dude, I'm like doing something big. Like this feels big. And so I think to appreciate that and to be able to look back on it it's just a cool thing. And that's part of my getting up every day to do what I do. Is like, I feel like I'm reaching my level of potential now. Whereas I didn't feel like I was doing that. I haven't reached it, but I just know that I've been given certain gifts in life that I need to use these and help elevate other people and help other people out. At the same time, I'm helping myself out. Right. But I will say, just tying it back to like the why, when you have someone else worth fighting for too, that helps you do it. Because there's some days that I don't, for Ryan, he's like, dude, I'm cool, I don't need to do this today. But realizing Cory's got something on the line here, that pushes you through to do the shit you don't want to do. And so that's another reason. Find someone, as Cory mentioned, that outside of maybe just a spouse, that's worth fighting for. And that anything you go through, those experiences, good and bad, you get to live them together. And I think that's the coolest part, because the highs of the highs are unbelievable, but they're only better when you do it together. And the lows of the lows aren't that low because you have one person pulling you up. You always have the hand reaching down. So just words of wisdom from my last 6 years doing this with Cory.
Love this, bro. You guys are both. I really appreciate how deep we go on this. I'm gonna add a little comment before that transition here. It's really, I think it's really important. And I always talk about this with people who have faith, right? If you actually believe in what you're doing, you believe in the proof of concept and the blueprint that it's going to work, and you remove the when, and you enjoy the process, the fulfillment, it's kind of left to like, what else are you worried about? Right? Like, you're gonna get to the destination by law. And if not, you're gonna get to the destination that you're supposed to be because of what you put in, right? Like, energy in, energy out. Like, energy created cannot be destroyed, right? So what are you worried about? And I had to come across this because I was in a pickle this past week, and I was like, I had to like do a mental exercise of this all won't matter. You'll forget this what seems to be the biggest challenge right now, that's making your heart and your pupils dilate and your heart pump blood fast and all this stress. I promise you, even next year at this time, I'm gonna be like, well, yeah, that thing happened. And so I think if we can kind of zoom out in our lives and like put it into perspective of like, and I heard Alex say this, right? Harmozy is like, you can kind of sometimes just zoom out and realize that like, if you zoom out from the universe, like the world is so small. Like, and if you just think about all the little thing that you're worried about that's keeping you up at night, or this next challenge. Now it's a challenge. We're not going to belittle that, but put it into perspective. And then, do you believe the path that you're on is the right one? And do you believe you're going to get there? If so, it's just another bump on the road, but you're going to get there. So what are we worried about, right?
Yeah,
what are we worried about? Guys, you guys are, how many episodes are you guys at now?
280.
Oof, solid. You guys got some hundos in there. I love to hear that. You guys are cranking. Let me ask you, you've been in the right rooms, you're getting yourself in the right rooms. I feel like every 5 to 10 years, I have like a paradigm shift that is like, oh, wow, this is how the new Ruben thinks. Considering you guys have been in so many right rooms, I'm going to start with Cory on this. What's like a big paradigm shift that you've had when you've been in those rooms where you're like, damn, that is no longer how I'm going to think of this because of what I just heard, or someone that I respect on the other side just helped me change my mental syntax. What's one thing that comes to mind in the past couple months, or couple years, that's still true to you today, or maybe a truth that's been debunked that comes to mind first?
This is interesting. I don't know if I've put too much thought into this, so it's going to be on the fly here. But I would say that your dreams are somebody else's everyday life, and even now we're doing that of somebody else's everyday life. So that's the gratitude part. But like where we want to get to, $1 million business is just the beginning. That's just like the next milestone, right? But like where we want to get to, someone else has done, like doing it. I like to say with ease, only because they've done it for years. So the mindset shift is it's honestly kind of what you just said, Ruben. Like, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And if other people have seen success from the same background that look like you, that are doing, like in the same like realm,
or even worse positions than you.
or even
Let's be
worse,
honest.
because there's plenty of people that have done it come from worse positions. If those people have done it, then what is my excuse? And I don't need to race against them. It's just that I take solace in that if they were able to do this thing that I'm looking to do, it's just about how long I'm willing to endure. How long are we willing to endure? And I think that there are so many people that are chipping away at the rock, and the diamond is on the other side, and you don't know when you're going to hit it. And I realize that that's a challenge, but you just don't stop until you do, and you eventually do. And now when you get to that diamond, you don't like rise above, and you're not an angel looking down. Like, you still have another plan ahead, but you know that I can at least show you the receipts and be like, okay, where we got to a certain point. So I just think it's like, if my goal is possible and it's been done and other people are doing it with ease, why not me? That's the change.
Love that. Welcome to the human experience, by the way, right? We could
Yeah,
all time it exactly when we wanted, then it wouldn't be the human experience.
exactly.
That's a good one, man. That's a. I
And
think I
Alex
like how
Ramosi
you
said something else like this too. Like, just you mentioned him. He said, like, every single thing that you do is a reframe, and it's not easy to do. I'm not suggesting that this is, but like he said, he got into a car accident, and the way that he thinks about it now is like, wow, that's so interesting. I'm so grateful that I got the human experience of living through being in a car accident and surviving. And I'm like, wow, that's a really interesting way to put that. Like, he's grateful that he got to have an experience like that now shapes him to be the person that he is, as opposed to woe is me. Because I think he got hit by a drunk driver.
No,
he
actually got a DUI.
Oh, right, he got a DUI.
Yeah.
Maybe that was it. I don't know, but like,
yeah, but he walked. He walked off. It's so funny. I was just listening to that. You're 100% right. By the way, you're right on the money.
yeah.
And that was a realizing moment. Like, he needed to change something, right?
But still grateful that he experienced it. So like, grateful that you experienced the thing. Like, when something minute is bothering you, or your flight gets delayed, or you have this nuisance or something, that like, maybe you should be grateful that you have went through that experience. And I'll tell you what, if nothing else makes me more grateful than, like, I was just at a place where the views were unbelievable. Like, I can't even describe what I saw in nature. I've heard a rule: 3 days in nature can cure like any problem that you have, because you kind of just get grounded. So
where were you, by the way?
I was in Bandon Dunes in Oregon, playing golf, and it's like one of those, like, the trip if you're a golfer. So
I want pictures after this.
I got plenty. Yeah,
right, cool.
got plenty.
We'll actually have to keep an open thread, because you guys were so aligned on like what we're consuming and digesting, and I want to keep the lines of communication open. You guys are awesome. Ryan, I want to come back to you, brother. I know where on that question of what is one thing that once used to be true, or what is the biggest paradigm shift that you've received from being in the multiple rooms you've been in, that you kind of take away and hold heartily close to your heart?
So I'm viewing this question a couple different ways. So the first way I'm thinking about it is like a paradigm shift of, hey, there any big pivots that you've had to make? And I think we've had a bunch of big pivots. And so for Cory and I think we went through this journey and expected to go in one specific lane, and that would be our level of success. And once again, just as life hits you, what you expect to succeed in isn't always what you succeed in. And we found something else that actually was the thing that worked. And so it's so interesting where you go into something, you make a plan, and life has different plans for you, right? So I want to hit with that, because everybody thinks it's linear. And if you keep chipping away at the same thing, you're going to have this end result. It's like, no, you chip away. You take a left turn, a right turn, you go up, you go 5 steps back, and then you find the thing. And you're like, whoa, okay, this is our thing. Like, and it all stemmed from the work you were doing, right? And all the reps you put in, and the things you studied and researched, and people you met, and all of that, but just something you weren't expecting. I think that's what makes it exciting too. But then also you can have the bad things that happen on that journey too. And you're like, well, wasn't expecting that. Like your last Wednesday or whatever it was, Ruben, you probably weren't expecting it, and you just got to deal with it. So it is what it is. the other shift of that is like, have I had a reframe myself? Right? Like, is that your question? Like, for me, anything that has kind of changed from meeting certain people,
Yeah,
or
so almost so you know how you'll hear someone say something and all of a sudden it becomes something that now becomes your new truth. Or and I'll give you an example. One of my biggest ones that I had this past year was it was around the goals. It's a lot of us you don't have to know the how. You just need to define the what, right? That was a big one for me because it was like, oh, like that's right. I'm building these goals based on my existing paradigm, right? Based on what I know. And that's what holds people back because they're like, I don't know how I can even get to 1,000 units. I don't even own one. Therefore, this goal can't be true. This goal is not mine. But Cory just said that someone else is buying 1,000 units per year per month with ease. The way it happens is you define the what you want and don't get hung up on how you get there. And then you will start to attract and or look out for the signs or people that can help you get there. Just like you guys said, how do we get to 800,000 a month? Ask the question. Oh, this is your consultant, this is your ad. So that to me was one big paradigm shift for me where like, okay, that's it. Right. And because you're in these amazing rooms, I'm wondering what is something that just sometimes they say you don't, you don't teach things, you catch them. What's something that you caught? You're like, oh, this is going to be how I look at the world now because you were on an interview with someone that just kind of just gave you this game. You're like, oh my gosh, that is now going to be how Ryan thinks. Anything come to mind?
Yeah, so hopefully I'm not too basic with this, but I'll just bring it back because if there are some like young aspiring entrepreneurs in here, there's a couple of them, and one of them is, I always thought I was grinding to make money, to become rich, to have a bunch of things, and I found out that the one thing that we all continually are chasing for is just to have the freedom to do what we want when we want, and just buying ourselves freedom back, which is so interesting because you had so much of it as a kid, didn't even really realize it. And then now we're all grinding again just to be back to become a kid again. So there's a couple of things with that. One, I think we are all intrinsically just chasing excitement and we don't even realize that. Like, why do I want to get to this level of what do I want to be? One, for a materialistic purpose. Hey, I want the excitement of driving in the supercar that I've always wanted. I know that 1% of the world can afford this and get to there. I want to prove to myself that I can become that person that deserves to have that car and can enjoy the experiences with it. And when I get that experience, I'm not just going to have it for myself. I'm going to share it with other people because I know how hard it was for me to get. So when people drive by and they see the guy in the car, instead of being the guy that's like flashy and just walks in, doesn't look at anyone, it's like there's kids that want to sit in it and they want a picture. And that's what I want to do. So like I want to be able to be the inspiration for me when I was back at square one, because I know it just takes that one little piece and one little thing to set you off, and then it's stuck in your head forever and you have to have it. I want that for someone else. And then I also want to be just like part of people's stories, right? And like the more people I can impact, the better. I think that the idea of chasing money for the materialistic things has definitely changed for me, because I always thought I liked things, but I do genuinely value experiences. And I think as you get older, you realize, once again, you're never going to be this young. You're never going to be this healthy. You're never going to be with these exact people. Like, just be in the moment and enjoy it. And like, spend the money on the trip, go book the trip, as Cory has said to me recently. But like, I've been to Greece, I've been to Italy, I've been to Iceland. And like, when people ask me, like, what are the most exciting things I've ever done in my life? Those are them. Outside of the cool experience that Cory and I had, like, we flew out to Arizona and hosted a mastermind in person, flew out to a cool new place, met a bunch of people, impact, love it. We're flying down to Florida to stay at his Airbnb to be on a big podcast in the next couple weeks. Like, that's an experience. It's not the thing. So for me, that was a big reframe. And then the biggest of all for me, and I think because I was so like gung-ho, like, Ryan, you got to be this lone wolf dude, like just attack it. Like, some people don't understand you. They don't believe in what you want to do, but like, you're just going to get there and you're just going to figure it out. Like, no, dude, you have to put yourself in the rooms or in the presence of the people that have done those things. So how do you get to that level? What do you need? Who do you need to become to be valuable enough to get into those rooms? And so that's what I've tried to do. And it's the who, not how. I always thought I need to figure out how to do this and I need to be the smartest person in the entire world. No, find the people who have done it, let them show you the way, and extract little pieces from them. So that was my biggest reframe of all time, probably is the who, not how. I know we already kind of touched on it, but that changed my perspective big time.
Dude, huge. Ryan, Cory, this has been a wealth of knowledge. I'm squeezing. Hey, the juice is juicing. There was some juice in here, man. I want to appreciate you guys and give you guys your flowers in real time, because I truly admire and respect you guys. And just to tap in again, I'm like, you always say people remember how you made them feel. I remember just when we first connected, there was a connection for sure. And this just kind of reinstated and revalidated that connection, because mutual respect, man. And I want to give you your flowers because you guys are doing it the right way. You're being intentional about it and you're doing it together. Like, I just sense just pure genuineness on the other side. And I can tell you guys are just getting warmed up, and the sky is the limit for you both. So with that said, man, I want to thank you for coming on. What's one thing you want to leave here to the audience? I know we just dropped them some gems, but like, what's one thing you want to put out to the universe? I'm big on manifestations. I want to be able to say they were on here and they said they would do this. What is out there that we want to put out into the universe so the people can follow, and where can they keep following you? Give it to me in one line, brothers.
Well,
What are we doing?
I would say this: if you're looking to get in the real estate game, start your journey. First to next rental property, 1 to 3, 1 to 5. Give us a follow on Instagram. That's the best place to get in touch with us, at Wealth Juice Official. Reach out to us. Ryan and I have created this community over the last year that has helped dozens and dozens of people get started, because we knew the power of one, and helping us get started was the thing that allowed us to have these conversations with people like you. And it's not about the things, it's about the relationships and the journey. But in order to get there, for us, it was like building something for ourselves. So if you're looking to get your first or next rental property and you want hand-to-hand combat, you want help, Ryan and I will do that. That's what we do. So reach out to us at Wealth Juice Official. Our podcast is the Wealth Juice Podcast. We have conversations like this. We talk about real estate, entrepreneurship, personal finance, lifestyle, and growth. But specifically, if you're looking to get in the real estate game, Ryan and I have seen it. We can help you in any market. So reach out to us there. That's what I'll leave you with. Just happy to chat too. But if you really want that next level, you can follow us. But if you want that next level, shoot us a DM.
Cool. Ruben, first of all, I just want to say the sentiment is the same. I truly had a blast chatting today, catching up with you. We're on the same wavelength. I think you can just smell and feel the genuineness on all sides here. So we will definitely stay in touch. Thank you for having us. I just wanted to, you've been giving us our flowers. We feel the same about you. So thank you very much. I'll leave you with two quotes. And they kind of play into the last question you asked me, but the point of money is not so you can buy everything. The point of making money is so that no one can buy you. And then the last thing I'll leave you with is, because I've had this feeling, and I think a lot of people will have a feeling like this and they don't do anything about it. You're not crazy for wanting more. You're just surrounded by people who have already given up. So don't let those people's fears project onto you. You are made for the big life. You can do it. Don't let other people's influence around you hold you back from your true potential. So I'll leave you with that. Cory and I think about this often, and you have to take a bet on the biggest asset you'll ever have, the one that's with you for life, and that's you. So take that and start taking action.
Ryan, Bevilacqua, and Cory Jacobson, thank you so much, guys. You guys crushed it.
Thank you, Ruben. You're the man.
Experimentation, I believe there are 2 critical components that will help you achieve your goals very quickly and succeed. Number 1, it's information like this that you received on a show, in an episode, and content that you can find on my YouTube channel or anybody's channel. And then there's a community. And the way we've been able to expedite our process, the way people in our community, people that we consult, mastermind members, whoever, they get the information on an episode like this, but then they also have a support, whether it's me guiding them or being guided through a community. There is an opportunity for you listening to be able to expedite your process, or even expedite your results that you're seeking by being in part of the community. If that is what you're interested in, we at Experiment Nation happen to have a community devoted to helping maximize your occupancy and your profitability altogether, regardless of which market that you are in. And for that reason, you have an opportunity where you can go to experimentrealestate.com/submit if you're looking to work in an environment that can help you prosper faster, call out any areas that you might not be familiar in, especially the blind spots. That's where a guide comes in hand, and I would be a pleasure and honor to be your guide. But in order to make sure you're a good fit, make sure you go to experimentrealestate.com/submit so that my team can go ahead and take it and see if you're a good fit to join the mastermind and the multiple programs that we have. In addition to that, I'm also now a YouTube partner, which means that I want to give you more access to information, more access to Q&As, more access to the questions that actually come out of our mastermind that help people expedite the process. We've seen people get anywhere from $4,000 to $5,000 to $6,000 to even $7,000 a month net on just one door by applying the strategies that we use by working with corporations and furnished accommodation in a very strategic way. So if you're interested, make sure you also subscribe, because I'm going to have different tiers that's on YouTube now that we've become YouTube partner to continue to be the bridge to your success in your lab. And your lab means your life, your goals, or wherever you're trying to head. So make sure you also hit the subscribe button on my YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/real estate experiment. We'll be there. You can also look us up at Midterm Rental Insurance Experiment. We will be there. Make sure you hit the subscribe, because that's when you'll know the tiers that are available to you that make sense for you, your marketplace, for your results. Remember, you're only one experiment away. Let's build.